Hello and welcome back to Monday Morning. I'm your host, Myles Biggs, and I'm happy to be here with you all once again today. Quick housekeeping items before we get started, as always. I'm on for the shameless plug, right? Remember, we're doing the show every single morning at 7:30, so be sure to like, subscribe, follow, whatever the thing is on whatever platform you're watching. Do that thing and join us here every Monday morning. And be sure while you're at it to do the same thing for my podcast, Relish the Journey. So if you don't get tired of me on here, you can listen to plenty more of me over there. And we're going to get started right away with some good news this morning. So when I started this, right, and I was asking people for segments, overwhelmingly people said, we want to hear stories that are awesome, stories that are uplifting and positive of both people and of companies. And what's really cool is that I found a story that does both of those things today. So before I get started, I can see people joining in, which is awesome. Hello, everyone. Be sure to comment. We can pull in your comments as an example here, right? If this were you, boom, I could have your face and your comment here live in the stream. So if you have questions for me, if you have questions for our guests that we're going to bring in later, leave it as a comment wherever you're watching, and I can pull that into the stream and we can interact with each other here live. So let's get into the story. I'm going to share my screen. Show you a smiling guy, right? How's that for waking you up on a good foot? So by now you've probably seen a video online. It's a video trend of people skateboarding and lip syncing to Fleetwood Mac and drinking something. I've seen variations that are coffee or craziness like a big jug of maple syrup, right? It seems like the more ridiculous, the more views it gets. Well, it all started with this guy. So again, like I said, there's gonna be two elements here. One is just him and the cool thing he did by itself, and then how a company responded. So the person you're seeing here, his name is Nathan, and he was driving to work. I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks ago now, and his car died. He's on the side of the highway and his car died, and he still had to get to work. So he had a longboard, which if you don't know, you see what he's holding in his hand. Longboard is just a type of skateboard. And he grabbed the longboard and finished his commute to work on the highway. Now, because it's 2020, it's like, if we don't have this out, did it even happen, right? He took his phone out and did a selfie style video of him skateboarding down the highway, and he happened to be drinking some Ocean Spray cranberry juice, and he was lip syncing to Fleetwood Mac on TikTok. He arrived at work. He was probably just thankful to not be hit by a car on the side of the highway while skateboarding, and I'm assuming thought nothing of the video. He was more focused on that car he left on the side of the highway, right? But while he's at work, this is where the cool story hits in, why the internet can be awesome. His TikTok got millions, plural, 6 digits, 7 digits, right? Over and over again, people are watching this video and reacting to it and then making their own version of it, like I was saying with the coffee or maple syrup instead of the Ocean Spray cranberry juice. So it was going viral. Fleetwood Mac retweeted it, the band he was lip syncing, and so many people making their versions. He became like an overnight sensation. But it doesn't end there. If it ended there, it would be a cool story. Just a random guy, something crappy happens, he turns into something positive, and he becomes viral on TikTok. But in this story, Ocean Spray, the company, deserves some applause because of the millions of people that saw it. Ocean Spray saw it, and they decided to bless this guy for giving them so many free brand impressions. If you think about it, if you go and watch the video, it's like he had it like in the back of his mind. He hoped this was happening. He's skateboarding and he's got the quintessential product placement of the Ocean Spray label as he's skateboarding. And so Ocean Spray was being seen millions of times. And so they didn't just like it or retweet it or comment saying, hey, thanks, that's cool for drinking our juice. They saw how much of a sensation he was. They saw how people were reacting to his story of how crappy it was that his car broke down, and they decided to give him a car. So this photo that you're seeing is the cranberry red, right? Of course, marketing. Cranberry red Nissan pickup truck that they gave Nathan with a bed full of juice. And you can see he's cheesing hard, and why wouldn't he be? He's an internet sensation. He's got a new truck, and he's got a bunch of his favorite juice. So that is some awesome news to start your week. Proof that humanity is still alive and well, and that companies can be like human beings and not these cold corporate entities. So, and seriously, brilliant move for Ocean Spray, because look, I'm talking about Ocean Spray. I wouldn't be talking about Ocean Spray if they had done this. So it works for them just as well as it worked for Nathan. So that's the first good news story. And coffee break. Second, I don't know if y'all saw this last week, but I had some pretty exciting good news in my life. and I'm going to share my screen again over here as I transfer over. But I woke up last week to a news notification with an article that was the top 15 podcasts of 2020, according to New York Weekly. And I had a Google alert. So either I was mentioned in it, or Rolf the Journey was mentioned in it, or I was thinking, oh, I got it because the term podcast is mentioned in it, right? There's no way I'm on this list. Well, it turns out I am on this list, which is really freaking cool and good news for me that, if I don't share it, who will, right? So if I scroll to the top, here's the article on New York Weekly, top 15 podcasts, top 15 podcasts of 2020. You scroll down, you see some pretty big names, some big shows, the biggest of which probably is number 3 with Joe Rogan, who just had a multi-million-dollar deal for his podcast, Spotify. And then here is me, which is crazy to say still. At number 5 with Rolf the Journey is Myles Biggs. So that's some good news in my life that I'm still just excited to share with all of you. Rolf the Journey recognized as top 15 and really top 5 because I snuck in there at number 5, which is just awesome. And so what I hope you take from that more than anything isn't me, toot my own horn, but it's the fact that, if I can do it, you can do it, right? I've said it again and again that more and more people should just get off the sidelines and do instead of talk about doing, right? And if you just show up consistently over and over again, eventually good things happen. And this is a perfect example of it. So I hope you guys take this good news and at some level it prompts you to get off your butt and do whatever it is that you want to do. So that's me. That's that good news. And it's an awesome segue to our guest that I want to talk about. And first, here's proof. Comment, good morning, Myles. Thanks, Dave Cooper, for watching. I got a plug for you, Dave, later in the show, so keep watching. Dave's one of my good friends, so I appreciate you watching, Dave. So this is an example, everybody. As you're tuning in, leave a comment, leave a question for the guest when the guest joins us shortly, and we can pull them in and answer them here live. So shout out, Dave. Good morning. Right back to you, my friend. All right, so let's get back to it. Our guest, I'm going to talk her up a little bit because she's a perfect example of what I just mentioned about getting off the sidelines, not just thinking or talking about something, but doing, to shift from consuming content, consuming what other people do, to creating things yourself. So she's doing it really, there's no other word that I can think of for this than vulnerable. It's a pretty vulnerable way, in my opinion, because she's in the fitness space. And so when you get into fitness, either if you're mentally fit or physically fit, you have to share your story. So for her, it takes the form of before and after photos with her literal body, right? Before and after, which can be very vulnerable for all of us to share. But then she's letting you behind the scenes at workouts, at what she's doing for personal development, talking about mental health, all things that aren't your typical topics of conversation, that she is throwing herself into the fray, into the center of attention with, to connect with other people and then to help them do the same. And so we're going to bring her in and talk to her today about what prompted her to get off the sidelines and start creating over consuming, what she's learned along the way, and what she could say as way of, advice or thoughts for anybody that's watching, thinking about doing the same. Or if you need some help on your fitness journey, right? She's there to help you. So we'll ask her how you can contact her for that as well. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest. Her name is Jessica Philippek, and here we go. She's waiting patiently, itching to talk in the green room, and here she is. Jessica, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing awesome. How you doing?
I'm working on caffeinating myself, so I'll get there shortly.
Hey, you see me stop, whatever you want to stop and take a coffee break. It's all good. So I'm going to warm you up because it is early.
Yes.
And you got to get in the right mind. So talking about vulnerability, right? I like to make a fool of myself because then everybody else feels more comfortable talking. So I'm going to hit you with some really corny dad jokes. So I picked these specifically for you because of things that I know you're into. So without further ado, this one's Disney related.
Okay.
Why can't you give Elsa from Frozen a balloon?
Because she'd let it go?
Exactly. Yep. It's like a riddle. Because she'll let it go. There you go.
That's
I
awesome.
laughed. I was like, dang, that's a good one. All right. What generation does Forrest Gump belong to? Gen A.
Oh, see, my mind was going like the Run Forrest Run, like the tagline, but that's a good one.
Gen A. Gen A. There you go.
Pays and carrots.
So, Jessica Philippek, why don't you, I introed you, But in case I messed it up or missed something, why don't you give us some background into who you are and what you're doing?
Sure. So, who I am, I mean, I'm just an average 28-year-old girl, I guess you could say, working a 9 to 5 job, during this quarantine and pandemic, which is insane. But, I always felt as though I was looking for something more. I'm very much so the kind of person who's like, if there's something to be done, I want to do it. I 100% say I would rather be busy than bored. And for pretty much my entire life so far, since I entered the work world, I've always held 2 jobs, whether that was, a 9 to 5 and like a serving gig, or freelance work with some of my creative outlets of video and photo capabilities. But recently, and seriously, as recently as 3 months ago, I became a Beachbody coach. And after, 6 years of being a consumer of the product, like you had said, finally my coach had said, this is something I think you'd be really good at. You should give it a try. And I'm not going to lie, for, the 6 years prior to that, I had heard that a handful of times, and I had come up with every single excuse in the book, oh, I'm too busy. I'm not as dedicated to my workouts as I want to be. How is anybody ever going to follow, my lead? Who's going to want to hear from me? What do I have to contribute? And there was just like this switch that I was like, it wasn't a gut check no. So I leaned into the yes. And it sounds cliche to say that, my life has changed, but by truly leaning in, I've seen such a difference in myself, and then just in the community that I've become a part of in the last 3 months. So it's been awesome.
Yeah, that's great. And you actually kind of answered this question already. What made you get off the sideline? So for you, it was that coach that you had encouraging you to do it. But so since you've gotten off the sidelines and you've made that shift from consumer for 6 years, which was a long time, to the creator and someone now who's a coach, what makes you continue to get off the sidelines once you've started? Because so many people start and then stop, right? Like what do you think is going to keep you in the arena?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's really awesome about this community in general is that they set you up to succeed. They don't ever really just say like, hey, come on board. Hey, invest in these products and let them like sit there and, go stale. They're always like, we have this new product. We want you to try it, because if you're using it and you're consuming it, and the way that they set it up is like, if you go out to eat at a restaurant and you have an awesome experience, you're going to tell people about it, and you're going to want to then bring your friends to come back with you the next time you go. So really, they encourage you to succeed. They give you all of the tools and the resources that you need to succeed. And I mean, more than anything, it's the accountability of not only, my challengers that have come on board and have seen some crazy results already, but also working up and working with like having the ability to work with some of the top performers in the company as a whole. It's not like they sit on this platform that is so unattainable and unaccessible to someone like me who's just 3 months in. Like, I'm earning my way onto these like personal development calls with some of the leading coaches like in the company. So it never feels as though like there is this like glass ceiling that you can like see up into and you can't get yourself. They pretty much put you in a position that it's like, if you want it, it's there for the taking. And what I've always loved is it's a direct reflection of the amount of effort that I put into it. And I think that's common with anything in life, but I think a lot of the times people feel like, oh, I can't do that because I work a 9 to 5. So how am I going to split myself in half to dedicate, wholeheartedly to both jobs? But right. I found a lot of success in just being able to work in the pocket of times that I have. I mean, you said it earlier, if you don't have this, did it happen?
Right.
And I find myself, mindlessly scrolling Instagram or mindlessly scrolling Facebook. And it's just, not that it's mindless now, it's pointed. And I'm basically, making these amazing connections and like with people from all over the country. Like the other day I was talking to someone from Washington, and it's just like never in my life did I ever think as like a Jersey girl that I would be connected to someone on the complete other coast. And now does it make it difficult because of time differences? Yes. But it's one of those things that just fills my cup so full that I'm like, man, if I have to stay up till midnight because it's like 7 o'clock over there and they have free time, I'm doing it because you're making those connections that you never in a million years thought you could.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And so let's look at some of it, because I think this is why, right? I got your Instagram page pulled up here. And when I say about being vulnerable, you've got the before and after photo up here, but then you're showing people into your personal life, even with your niece. And then, just pictures of you working out with people, right? To show like, hey, it's not just me. But so you're showcasing all this positivity, which is huge when it comes to personal development, both mentally and physically. And that's how you connect with folks all over the country, because something about your story is going to resonate with them no matter where they're located in the world. But the internet, while you're being positive, can be a pretty negative place, right? Like you could get some serious trolls happening on the internet. So for you, when you're posting all the smiley faces and stuff, how do you stay positive when it can kind of turn negative? And maybe it hasn't turned negative for you, which I hope it hasn't. But I know for me, I'll just use myself as an example. When I first started the podcast, I had so many people basically telling me that I sucked in messages and stuff like, or reviews. And it can be hard when you believe in it so much to have some people doubting you or making you question. So how do you keep this smiling face that we see here when the world isn't always smiling back at you?
Yeah, I think what's super important, especially with everything that has happened in 2020, is making sure that like you're authentic and true to yourself, and realizing that like I posted this the other day on Facebook. It's like, you may not be everybody's cup of tea, but like, screw them, I drink coffee. Like you're going to always have people that are going to have something to say about you or what you're doing. And it's funny because I think a lot of the times the biggest critics are the ones that are watching you the closest, because they're the ones that want to see you like slip up. So by just showing up and being consistent and realizing that, to 1,000 people, for example, you may only connect with like 8 of them, but of those 8, you could be changing their lives in a way that like you never thought, or they never thought someone else in the world could like relate to them. And I know like that was one of the biggest things for me, because when I did join this community, I connected with one of these women who was just like, I've been where you've been. I've done the 9 to 5. I've done the hustle grind. And like, I hear you, I see you, I validate you. And I think a lot of that is where, I want to turn around and say, if I can be that for someone else, that makes me showing up and being vulnerable worth it. And I mean, don't get me wrong, social media very much so is, the edited and the filtered. And, if you got like a blemish, you can like get it at, like, you can edit it out. But I think what's just been the most important is just being able to share. And not to say like, oh, capitalizing on 2020 because everyone's having a rough go of it. I think what's going to be really interesting to see is how it kind of carries over, and what 2021 and 2022 kind of look like. But just showing up and knowing that, me being there and being present and being so like perfectly imperfect, which is what I tell anybody that like starts to follow me, that like, welcome to my mess of a life. Like you're going to see everything from like me sweating during a workout, like burning a meal that I thought I was going to like nail. Like, I haven't, fortunately, to a point, gotten vulnerable enough where I've been like crying. But recently, like I was kind of sidelined in my workouts because I had to get, a skin tab removed, and I received stitches. And the doctor was like, yeah, you can't work out for 2 weeks. And I'm like, how am I going to show up? How am I going to,
what do you mean? Yeah.
right? Like, how am I supposed to like be this like health and fitness pillar when like I can't work out? But that's where I truly like leaned into like, okay, I can't control what my body does, but I can control what I eat. I can control how my mind is going to handle all of this. And that's just being like, the fitness part is great because I think it's like, that's where everyone wants to like see like the toned abs and the strong arms and the, you know,
Sure.
ripped back or whatever. But like the other component is what's going on between your ears. If you're not healthy there, everything else is kind of just going to be a little bit harder. So being able to kind of dial that in, being able to like focus on the personal development and like resetting like my nutritional standards and realizing, you know, I'm not drinking enough water during the day and really honing in on that. So,
sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. You know what's funny about that? Look at my water bottle I got.
it like goes everywhere with me now.
64 ounces, and it tells me like the day of the week.
Yes.
I'll be on Zoom calls and I'm like, hold on, I'm thirsty. And I go one of these and people are like, what the hell are you doing? But
Like, yeah,
it's amazing what water can do. Just a little thing, right?
Yeah.
You're filling yourself with coffee and like basically dehydrating yourself to try to get energy when
Yes.
you can just go with the high quality H2O.
And it's funny that you say that because right when the whole like got my stitches, I did one of our programs, which was like basically it's a 3-day reset of your body, and you're getting your proteins through a shake and you're pretty much veggie and fruit based. And I was like, wait, you're telling me I can't have coffee? The only thing I can have is like non-caffeinated, like tea and water. And the first day I was like, okay, it's 7 a.m. I really want my cup of coffee. By day 2, I was like, I don't really even miss it. By day 3, I was like, how was I drinking 4 cups of coffee a day?
Right.
And I mean, now I'm happy to say I have it back, but I like restrict myself to like 1, maybe another one in the afternoon. But it's funny how we tell ourselves these stories that like, oh, I need coffee to get through the day, or I need coffee to,
Right.
you know, get through my job or whatever. But it's like when you push all of those negative narratives aside, it's amazing what you truly can do and accomplish.
Totally. So besides, you know, Instagram here, and I'll scroll up so that it's getting frozen. So people would see your handle. So it's jess.philippek on Instagram.
Yes.
Where else people are listening to you talk, they identify with you, they want more of Jess. Where should we send them besides just Instagram, or is Instagram the spot?
Instagram pretty much is the spot right now, just because right on there, it does have the link to my coach's page as a Beachbody coach. So you can certainly click that link, connect with me there. I mean, you mentioned it, and sometimes it's totally disgusting how dependent we are on our phones, but I am always on my phone. There is an email address on there that does go directly to my Gmail account. So anybody that's looking to reach out, that's definitely the easiest way to do it. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it makes you think that like, oh, what did the world do before social media? But I think, you know, that's one of the beautiful things, that we can connect at any and all times. And there even are times where I'm like, I have to put my phone on do not disturb, because it's like, I need to just disconnect for a little bit. Like, we went up to the Catskills for my brother's birthday, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's no service. This is kind of the greatest thing in the world.
Right? Yeah.
And people were like, hey, just checking in. Like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm completely fine. I just like, I needed, you know, the reset. So, yeah, but definitely social media is the best way to go. All of the information is there in that link in my bio for sure.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you waking up early with us, coffee or not, however you got energized this morning. I appreciate it. And like she said, everybody, if you're interested in what she has going on, more of her story, check her out on Instagram, watch the replay back, grab that handle. I'll link up to it in the comments too, so it's easy. And I'm excited to continue to watch along and see how the story progresses.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. I'm going to put you back in the green room when we can chat when I'm wrapped up here. All right, everyone. That was Jessica Philippek. Really cool story. I love it when people are crazy like me and decide to put themselves out there, because I really feel like I'll keep saying over and over again until all of you do it, that everybody's got a story to share. We can all resonate with something about each other's stories. And the more people that do it, the better conversations we have, the more we realize the more alike than we are different. And then there'll be more good news than bad news to share as we're talking with people. So resource time. Every week I bring you either a book recommendation, or last week I talked about binaural beats and how they help me focus, which was awesome to get text messages saying, hey, I tried it. It was awesome. So hopefully that continues to work for you guys. This week, I want to bring you another book, and I'm going to share my screen here. So book recommendation for you this week is by Sarah Noose, and it's called Destined for Greatness, Living an Inspired Life from Head to Tippy Toes. So Sarah Noose is a badass, and I met her on the podcast, interviewed her for Relish the Journey back in the day, early on. She's actually featured in my book when it comes out, and I'm going to talk to her on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern with Dave Cooper, who commented earlier as part of our live stream there called Increasing Influence, about how she wrote this book. She also has a podcast called Destined for Greatness. She started a dance company called Tippy Toes, and they franchise the concept to women all over the world. They just opened a studio in Beijing. So this whole book is about how she did all of that and how you can do all of that, going back to sharing your story. She's sharing hers so that you can have the confidence to do your version of it. So head on over to Amazon. I'll put this link in the comments and check out Destined for Greatness by Sarah Noose. Highly recommended person in general, not just book, person to connect with and follow. She's doing some awesome things. So shout out to Sarah. All right. And then the weekly challenge. So we've talked about on here for challenges to get off the sidelines and to at least comment and give back to the people that are putting content out there. And this week, I'm going to talk about what I just did, right? To celebrate somebody. So it's in a similar vein, but in this theme of good news and being positive. All too often, we think something's cool. We think somebody did something great. We don't pick up the phone and say, hi, nice to talk to you. Actually talk to you, not just comment or a message. I saw that you did this, and I just want to say it's awesome. It had this impact on me. I love watching what you're doing. I was at a wedding this weekend, and I kind of forget sometimes, like, people watch this stuff, right? So I was around people I hadn't seen for a while, and they were coming up saying, hey, I love those videos you did every day, walking Josie. Hey, I saw you were on this article. That's so cool. And it felt so good and validated for me to be celebrated by the people that I love in my life. And that's the challenge, is to go and pay that forward. I'm going to try to do it this week. I did a little bit with Jessica this morning because I didn't reveal it till now, but Jessica's my cousin. I've known her literally my whole life, and it's awesome to see people in my family doing great things. So I'm celebrating people and going to make a bigger effort to do. I hope you all do the same. So that will wrap us up for Monday Morning with Myles. I appreciate you all listening. Again, if you like me and you want more of me, go check out Relish the Journey wherever you listen to podcasts. Tune in 1 p.m. on Thursday over on davecooper.live. Dave Cooper's LinkedIn page, his YouTube channel, his Facebook. We go live every Thursday at 1 p.m. And this week we're talking to Sarah Noose, whose book I recommended earlier in the stream. And that's all I got for you, everybody. Hope you have an awesome, awesome week. Go out, celebrate people, create some of that good news that we feature in the show every day. And I'll see you next Monday.